Hello, I'm Kate Freeman, and this is the Daily Dollop. On this episode of the Daily Dollop, we're going to be talking about body fat percentage, what it is, how it's measured, and the recommended levels for people to sit between. I also want to discuss building a healthy relationship with your body and maintaining a healthy weight long term. Well, welcome back to the show, everyone, this fine day. My name's Kate Freeman. I'm a registered nutritionist and the founder of the Healthy Eating Hub. And fun fact about me is actually a question submitted by a listener, and they wanted to know how competitive I was. So I'm not a super competitive person when it comes to sports. I hate sports. I hate ball sports. So I couldn't care less about them. Or games, like card games. You know, I like winning them, but I'm not super fussed if I lose them. But when it comes to business, yes, I am a little bit competitive in that I do occasionally keep an eye on what my competitors are doing. Although I do find I spend the majority of my time just focusing on what I'm doing and being in my lane. But I have to admit, sometimes when I see people either doing similar things to me or, just doing things that I've, been doing, I can feel a bit competitive. But then I think to myself, I'd like to think that there's enough work out there for all of us to do really, really well. And I also think I'm a super duper hard worker, like a really hard worker. So go ahead and outwork me. I dare ya. So that's kind of my competitive streak there. Thanks so much for that question. If you would like to know more things about me, you can chuck them on social media. Just contact me that way. I may or may not share the information with you, depending on what you want to know. But on to today's show, where we're chatting body fat percentage. And do you know what your body fat percentage is? Is it even necessary that you know? I am 28% body fat currently. And that will mean different things to different people based on what you know about body fat percentage. You might think, I thought she'd be leaner. Or some of you might think, I wish I was that lean. Or some of you might think, I have no idea what that even means, and should I know what that means? So I guess, before I get stuck into a bit more detail about body fat percentage and what is a healthy range for it, is just chatting a little bit about the woo that permeates our culture, and in particular social media. Because I kind of think, particularly for me, growing up, I was a teenager in the 90s, and I remember there being lots of weight loss ads on TV. And even back then, I remember body fat being treated like it was this evil thing that you had to melt off your body. It was about shredding fat, be a fat burning machine. This special diet or program or exercise machine, melts the fat off your body. The Danos Direct ads with their weird little gimmicky products are such a good example of using language like melting fat and stuff like that. And, we really celebrate lean bodies. We only see lean bodies on TV and social media. We don't really see bodies with higher amounts of body fat on them. And, it just becomes this thing that we feel like, if we have too much body fat, then that's a really bad thing, and we're almost like a second-rate human. And it's pretty sad that it's got to the point where we can't just recognize that there are just different body shapes and different amounts of body fat, and that is okay. And I think that this celebration of leanness and the fact that we're so weighted towards one particular body type that is very lean is that we have this entire generation of people who feel like they don't measure up in the body fat stakes, and that they're just not good enough from that perspective. And it is getting so bad that, I mean, just anecdotally, so when I say that, I mean just my experience with running the dietetic clinics. So I have the Healthy Eating Hub, which is my online program, but I also run the Healthy Eating Clinic, which is Canberra's largest nutrition and dietetics clinics, and we've got 2 clinics in Canberra. And we are seeing more and more young people, and we have, as young as 9, 10 years old, but frequently 12, 13-year-olds come through the clinic wanting to lose weight because they feel like their bodies aren't good enough, they don't fit in, they want to be skinnier. And it's really sad because there's not only is it that our generation feel like we don't measure up from a body fat percentage, is that there's this whole new generation that I feel like are even more hyper aware of their bodies. Because looking back, I don't remember feeling worried about how much fat I had as a 12-year-old or even as a 14-year-old. And yeah, it concerns me when we have kids feeling that and feeling like they're not good enough as well. And so there's this whole side of body fat, right, being evil, and you've got to melt it off, and having high body fat is a terrible thing. However, there's the flip side where we've got just looking at science and health, is that we know that as body weight increases and body fat increases, that so too does the risk of poor health and chronic diseases, and that being overweight is associated, it doesn't cause, but is associated with poor health. And the truth is that the line between what our culture describes as being beautiful and aesthetically beautiful and desirable, and between then what's healthy and good for us, is super blurred. And it's this very messy crossover between I'm lean because I just want to be beautiful and pleasing to the eye and accepted and worthy, to then I want to be lean because I want to be healthy, and this is portrayed as being healthy, to what is actually healthy. Anyway, it's a super messy. In my opinion, it's a really super messy, very blurry line. And so what I want to say right now is that body fat in and of itself, not sort of thinking about how much we have, but just body fat in and of itself is normal and healthy. It's a normal part of our physiology for a good portion of our body to be made up of fat. It helps your body with thermoregulation, keeping you warm, with soluble vitamins. Do you know every cell membrane in your body is made up of what's called a bilipid layer? So lipids are fats. So all the membranes of your cells are made up of fats. Fat's vitally important for your body to function and to be healthy. It's a normal part of your physiology. And so that right there is super duper important. You don't need to melt off every bit of fat of your body and or anything like that. We just want to find what's the healthy amount of body fat for you. So let's talk about that. So when we're looking at body fat percentage, there's actually no internationally accepted guideline on what's a healthy body fat percentage. So that's really interesting right there. There's lots of different opinions within the scientific, medical, and health community about what is supposed to be healthy. As I was doing some digging with the research, the American College of Sports Medicine suggests that there's a minimum amount of fat necessary for good health. Now, if you think about where the context of this advice being sports medicine, a lot of the aim of sports people is being as lean as possible, which helps maximize their power to weight ratio. And so they would be interested in what's the minimum amount of fat that we can get away with on an athlete without impairing their health. And so they have set what they call to be essential fat. And I just want to say that this level that I'm just about to give you is the bare minimum. It's certainly not what you need to be as low to be healthy, but anything less than that is now starting to become super unhealthy. But again, everyone's really different. So the essential fat basically amounts is 3% for men and 12% for women, which is incredibly low. And most people wouldn't be at that amount just normally. And even really fit, healthy people aren't that low. So then we've got on top of your essential fat, then just extra body fat stores. And so for men, it's recommended that between 10 and 22% body fat is the ideal healthy weight range, with 3 being the very bare minimum that you could get down to and not impair your health. But for some people, that would just not be possible for them. And then for women, we've got between 20 and 32% being the recommended amount of body fat for good health. So you can see it's quite a good range, and it's over for women, it's up to 1/3 of our total body weight being fat, and that's actually completely healthy. And so the thing is, what we want to start to think about is that it's like the Goldilocks principle. Too little body fat and we start to affect our health, affect our hormones, our reproductive ability, things like that. Too much body fat, and then we start to get problems from a metabolic perspective as our fat stores become too high. But what I'd like to do is just challenge you on finding a healthy relationship with your body and your weight long term. Not saying that you have to love every part of your body, because that's pretty difficult if you've spent a lot of years not liking it. And so to just wake up one morning and be like, oh, I love my body, it's not that easy. But I guess it's just coming to peace with it as it is, so that you can, I guess, just appreciate it enough to do consistent, healthy things for it. And so everybody listening to this podcast right now, you're going to be coming from different perspectives. You might be wanting to lose weight or maintain your weight or to gain weight. You might be coming from low body fat percentage and wanting to be lower, or high body fat percentage and wanting to be lower, or you're all going to be coming from different places. And so what I want to say is that regardless of your goal or where you're coming from, that you want to have a realistic and sustainable approach to it, because there's no point being uber restrictive to drop body fat if you can't sustain that and it just increases again, or trying to attain these super, super low lean physiques if it actually is putting you at risk of hormonal disruption and poor health, or it's leading to, disordered eating practices. So what I would challenge you to do is, if you were consistently focusing your efforts not on what your body fat percentage is as a number, but what you're doing every day from a health behavior perspective, that your body would settle into what is the best, most healthiest weight for you. So, behaviors that would help do that would be eating lots of vegetables daily, eating mostly minimally processed foods. Doesn't mean you can never eat a processed food, but just minimally processed foods. Enjoying friends and social occasions around food and eating your favorite foods mindfully. Staying well hydrated, engaging in daily activity and movement, and getting plenty of sleep. These are the key nutrition principles that we know promote health and long-term weight management. And whatever your body fat percentage is, after you consistently do those every day, is a really, really good thing. Well, that's it for today on the Daily Dollop. I'll link to an article I wrote for Her Canberra a few years ago on the body fat percentage if you'd like to find out more about that. Otherwise, stay classy today, team, and we'll see you in the next episode.